All right. It is a bright and sunny December 4th here in San Diego, California. Welcome to the State of Networks. I was almost going to say Deep in State, but got it right at the last minute. I'm not sure if Joey is joining or not. I think he's definitely not going to be here next week, but might just be me rolling solo this week. So got a bunch of news. Let's see. Top of the hops. Onocoy is talking about the BONO tokens bonus, which will be running from, 3 days ago, December 1st through January 31st. If you've got an Onocoy station up and running, it'll be earning double tokens, double the BONO tokens through January 31st. So that's pretty good. I was up on the roof actually this morning thinking that I was going to swap out the VeraPhase antenna I've got from Helium, which is a pretty badass antenna, for an even more rad antenna, the VeraChoke, which is a giant choke ring. It's about a 12-pound or 11-pound antenna, big metal thing. And then realized that the adapter I'd bought, which was this guy, was a N male to TNC male instead of an N male to TNC female. So got that one wrong. I will get a new order in. And what's up, Joey? Let's see if I can get you on the screen here. There we go. Cool. What's up, dog? Let's see. Blank. There's Onocoy. So yeah, didn't manage to switch out my antenna today, put it back, but I did make it a little bit more stable. I had it using Suburban Crypto's black metal mount, which he'd sent me one of the prototypes for. And that for the VeraChoke antenna, for the big 11-pound antenna, was just a little bit too, was it flexible, even though it's metal? And it was kind of wobbling all over the place. So I just strapped the thing directly to the pole, and yeah, that was it. So I think Suburban, I'll send you a video of what it looks like. I think it's totally fine for the UFO style antennas, the super light ones, but for the big heavy ones, which I don't think people are going to get anyway, just because it's a good chunk of money. It's about $5,000 for an antenna. And we all think that what it's going to show is that for rewards, it's not going to be worth it. Although I've been talking with Onocoy, and maybe there's some super special stuff that you can do where it may be worth it one day, but that is definitely not a reason to buy one of the fancy antennas. Right now, they're just kind of fun to muck around with. Okay. Anyone news? I had bought a bunch of the NFTs off of OpenSea in January. I decided to finally start swapping those out for the actual hardware, and they had a pretty complicated process. If you bought one of those NFTs, just be aware that you need to swap the relay NFT for a relay up NFT before you can earn. But they are earning. Mine are up and earning. They're earning, I don't know, like 3 tokens a day total. For 2 of them, so 1.5 day, maybe it's 1.7 tokens per day per machine. You can do your own math on that. If you want to buy your own, they're at anyone.io.shop. Link should be down in the description. And then I thought before we did kind of the rest of the news, we'd do a little PSA here, Joey, because I saw that Helium had done one on this as well. Is as crypto heats up, we used to do this on every show, and then we kind of forgot about it when the market was down. But as crypto heats up, there's going to be a shitload of scams coming in. So just be very, very careful. Be very, very suspicious of any kind of DM reaching out. Be super suspicious of any kind of support reaching out to you. Obviously, if you need support and you reach out to it, that's probably more likely. I would say always go through the website or the official Discord. But just be super careful out there. That's as the rewards for scammers go up, they will start working a lot harder. And with the, since last bull run, we've got AI now. Like, it's a lot easier for them to do a really good job of scamming you. So be careful.
I'll add, like in the past, we used to see people scamming to try and get access to your 12 or 24 words, sort of the full-on brute force attack.
Yep.
But there are sneakier things that folks can do to get in and get control of your tokens, like set new authority for who owns them within your own wallet when you sign a transaction. And so I want to point people to a link on that topic that we stood up as Foundation. I'll put this in the guest chat. But it's a page that talks about all of those things, and it'll actually let you click a button and sort of see a preview with your like in-browser wallet to understand what those transactions look like. Try to be a little bit aware of what's going on.
Cool. Dig it. I dropped that in our chat. Let's see. I'll burn through the rest of this, and then we'll come back. So the HIP 138 vote is over. Giant kerfluffle. Lots of heads and blood and hair and the rest of it flying everywhere. It was super fun to watch from the side. Looks like it's going to turn out all right. If I understand it correctly, the big whale who made the wrong vote was able to rescind their vote, and everything's going to turn out okay. I think the kind of top level takeaway from that is people are screaming about like, oh, this is bullshit. It's not decentralized governance. I think at this point, the project is still, despite it seeming mature to us, is still pretty young. And I am glad that there is some kind of adult supervision in the house to be like, hey, you know, I was going to say Bobby, but there is an actual username Bobby, you know, Billy or Timmy, you know, really fucked up. Let's go ahead and change that as long as they're consensual with that. And that turned out to be the case. So is it, you know, totally decentralized? No, it's not. Is it perfect governance? No, it's not. There's no currently operating entity anywhere that has perfect governance. Despite my enormous love for America, I cannot say that we have perfect governance. So I can't expect a relatively small company in this Wild West world of crypto to have perfect governance. Jeremy Marl, I'm sure you can agree at least with that perfect governance is still out of reach. Let's see. Helium announced that they weren't affected by the Solana JS Client issue. I don't know what that was. I'm assuming that was like some giant problem that they avoided. And then I saw the good news was that a buy, and it looked like Mario were on a Messari interview. So just really good news to see Helium getting more and more coverage across the board. Let me make sure I'm keeping up with my icons here. Let's see. Hivemapper, or is it MIP? No, that's not Hivemapper. There we go. Maybe I'll put my glasses on. I can see what I'm doing. Hivemapper announced that MIP 19 was finalized. They adjust the map credit price from 0.005 to 0.0075. So up by, Max will kill me because I don't know the math off the top of my head, but something like 50% increase in rewards or in the cost for the map credit. So cool. I think the whole pricing strategy for a lot of these deepins is one of the big problems they're all solving. I was talking to a founder the other day, and they were looking at hiring Goldhawks to say, hey, can you help us figure out pricing? So I don't think that's like a small problem that only one deepin is dealing with. Helium has the DC discussion kind of constantly. Is it too cheap? Should it be more expensive, etc.? So cool to see Hivemapper making some moves on that over in Demoland. Those guys always have an absolute ton of news. I think the big stuff is their 20% sale is over. So if you missed it, you missed 20% off. But if you want to dive way deeper with them, they're having an X Spaces on Thursday with one of my favorite folks in Deepin, who's Jason over at Daylight. If you want to see what a well-spoken speaker sounds like, or you want to hear what a well-spoken speaker sounds like, go check out Demo's Spaces with Jason, and then Jesse from Bases on there. But I haven't heard Jesse talk, so can't speak to him. But Jason is just, he's fun to listen to. Let's see, Wingbits. I didn't see that they had any news the last time we talked about them shipping their the dongle out, but I haven't seen any updates since then. So we'll go to Spexi. Spexi's got some pretty cool stuff. So they are the drone project. So you fly a drone, you basically hand over control of your drone to them. They fly some pattern, and I'm massively undercomplicating this or simplifying this. They fly the pattern, they take the pictures they want to take, and then you get tokens for the pictures. The top pilot flying for Spexi on December 1st earned $550. That seems like not bad for a day's work. I don't think I've ever gone overseas for less than $700 a day, but I know a lot of people who went over into combat zones for $550 a day. So it seems like it's a lot safer to be flying a drone in the US or in Canada to do that. So pretty good bang for the buck. Check out Spexi if you're a drone pilot. Srcful announced that they are still doing dual mining with Helium. I know that HIP38 caused a kind of kerfuffle across the whole space. And so they were just saying like, hey, everybody just chill, relax, keep on going. Everything's going to be okay. We're still going to do the dual mining thing. And then almost the last thing I've got is that WeatherXM announced that there's extra benefits if you got in on that Swissborg Alpha deal, which they ran over the summer, where you could buy a weather station that would get deployed somewhere else around the world. If you did that and you supported that whole thing, you're going to get some extra bennies in the wallet. And then I don't have, maybe I can share my screen and show you. I showed Joey this the other day. How the fuck would I do this? Maybe like this. That's pretty close, but not quite. There's my notes. We're going to show Google Chrome.
I can see it. It's in there.
There we go. Yeah. Yep. So I've been working on this Helium grant for a dashboard. This is just a local thing. So if you go to Meteo Scientific, you won't see this. But I've been working on this dashboard thing, going through how to set up the sensor. And then the idea is that you set up Node-RED, you set up a Cloudflare tunnel that takes you from the sensor to the LNS to Node-RED to your Raspberry Pi. Node-RED is on your Pi. You start figuring out where all the data is going, and then you push it up to a Grafana dashboard. So that's going to be pretty rad when it's finished, but it's certainly not there yet. And finishing off the Cloudflare tunnel piece is my current obstacle. So super fun thing to do. Super fun to get back to making educational content. It's one of my favorite things to do, although it is extraordinarily time consuming. And then the last piece I've got, so that we finish this in maybe under 11 minutes, is make sure if you are deploying miners, check out Flywheel Systems. There should be a link at the bottom of the description, flywheel.systems. And Kevin does all the graphics for this show. So if anything looks really good, it's because of Kevin. So thanks a ton to him. But if you want to deploy miners and you've got a place to do it, reach out to Kevin. That's all I've got for the kind of deep and specific notes. Enviromine. I don't think I've seen you in a while, but good morning. What's up, dog? Is there a dashboard for the rat coming? I don't know. I don't think so. 619. I don't think that's happening. So
I'll add one little news thing, which is the migration. So the migration for Helium 1663 console
yeah, I
to
just saw
Lone
it.
Star. And so, yeah, if you were a user of 1663 console, you would have gotten an email yesterday reminding you to make sure you migrate all of your devices to Lone Star service. Um, there was an email that happened a long time ago that set the
Yep,
deadline to December 1st,
they
and then
pushed
there
it
was
out.
like no follow-up. And so, yeah, we made some noise internally, got that deadline pushed back. It will absolutely be the final deadline, but I've got the Lone Star team's going to be sort of doing individual outreach to folks, make sure they're all good to go.
Yeah.
So,
And if Tommy, if you watch this and you're welcome to come on here. We'll do another announcement about how you're going to do that. I got that email this morning from 1663, which I think I used to have one of their icons on here, but I deleted it. And then I was like, oh, do I still have a VIP console account at Helium? And I do, but because I'm not a paying customer, I can't access that. So it's like, it doesn't matter anyway. So I think that news was mostly like, I have a hard time believing you wouldn't have known about that. I can't believe, well, maybe someone will be a paying customer and just kind of forgot that they were paying. But I don't think that affects most people.
yeah, we saw,
Kind of
yeah,
cool.
there
Go
were
ahead.
a couple of stragglers and a couple of big ones that we just want to make sure that that was
Oh, big
all squared
stragglers.
away. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's see. What's the
so we'll be
Zircuit
harassing
airdrop
them.
season 3? What's going on here, Travis? I haven't seen this at all. I'm thinking there's another couple either grants I want to write, or they may just be something that I put on the MetSci. One of them that I get a request for pretty consistently. It's not frequent, but it's like once a month. I get someone saying, "Hey, how do I transfer DCs?" And there is no way to transfer DCs from one account to another. However, what you can do is build a device that we call a data soaker, and Rock R4WK has I don't know if Rock has instructions on doing it, but I certainly have done it with his help before. And then you basically say, hey, you go near your gateway, you turn this thing on, and it runs a ton of data through your gateway, and those DCs come back to you through your gateway, but they come in as IoT tokens. So it's a workaround for doing it, but that's the only way to do it. That was something I was thinking of this morning, because someone else just asked me like, hey, how do I transfer DCs? So, oh, are you mute, Joey? I think you are.
I was,
Yeah. What were you saying?
doesn't matter. Well, just like a lot of times, unless you've got like hundreds of dollars of data credits, like there's, where most people are talking like $8 or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
It's
fair. And the device, I mean, you can use the device for many other things, but the device that you could use to build a data soaker is, I don't know, like $20 or something. So it's probably not worth it most of the time.
I mean, you go virtual, but actually, it's probably preferred. If you do that over RF, you're absolutely breaking like FCC guidelines. So don't do that.
Oh,
Uh,
really? I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess you
so
could just set
some
it to go slower.
airtime requirements a little bit. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I guess
But
you
then you're
could.
just running a device. Yeah,
Maybe I could just I'll put a little note in their legal frequency for myself. The other thing that I saw,
yeah.
or that I was
Not a
thinking of
lawyer.
as I was building this, and this is something Travis and I have talked a ton about, and he's got way more experience with, is I was thinking it'd be cool to put up an article that's like, if you're getting into LoRaWAN, and then a couple devices you should have, like one of them is like a USB to, what is it, TTL serial, little dongle. You probably have one on your desk, Joey, I'm guessing. Yeah.
I was
Well,
just thinking this was one of my first devices, I think, and actually it's probably more like my fifth device, but these are pretty
yeah.
fun.
Yep. So a mapper, USB to TTL. What is it? Serial, I think is what it's called. Like I was just thinking of
Mhm.
Bus Pirate, but you can use anything. There's a couple other
USB serial
things.
converter.
What's that?
Yeah, USB to serial converter. I mean, like
Okay.
a basic like temperature humidity sensor or something like that.
Yep. Um,
Over the Thanksgiving break, I really wanted to sit down and write a tutorial on Cloudflare. So kind of exactly what you're doing with your thing, but just on a different angle.
okay.
Didn't get there. I spent more time touching grass, which is good. Good
Good.
for the
Yeah.
brain.
I spent all my
Yeah.
Thanksgiving touching like the computer screen. So,
Hmm. Oh, I this is relevant to this call and also touching computer screens. I got my CNC router working again.
oh hell yeah. Are we gonna
Um,
get a tour here? What's going on, Joey? No, tease me.
no, you're. Let's
Vortal
see.
wants he wants the cribs tour. Like he's always trying to get you to break
It's gonna be.
your top secret location here.
Yeah, I sure don't want to dox myself too bad here.
We just get
Um,
one.
Fortunately, you're on a camera. So what ended up going on? So this used to be controlled. Can you see what's going on
Uh
here?
huh.
I'm like not
I can.
seeing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can make the cell size
Um,
bigger.
so it used to be a laptop. Now it's controlled with like a little media computer.
Okay.
Um, and then this is a touchscreen.
Wow. Very
And
fancy.
the the touchscreen itself, I won't show you my
I was
pin,
gonna say,
but
show us your pin.
uh, yeah,
One,
yeah.
two, three.
This thing, what it's like a little, what is this, like 12-inch
Uh huh.
LCD.
Yep.
It was only like $120. The computer was like 150, $160.
And if you'd
So I was able to
participated in
like,
Pollen, you'd have one of those already. That was
there you
useless.
go. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. But I did this bracket, did a little like 3D print bit here to like make it sort of rock solid so
Uh
it's
huh.
stable.
Yep.
Um, so I'm really like I'm really happy with myself on
And what are you
putting
gonna
that
make with
together.
that? Is there a little Nintendo controller there that I'm seeing?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I can control it with the Xbox controller.
Really?
Um, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
cool.
It's fun. You go zip it around. So it's really helpful when you're jogging and like setting up your piece. So I've got this is a piece of redwood I think that's staged up there, and
Okay.
I'll probably do some cuts on it. But um,
Huh. And there's a little vacuum
anyway,
thing on there as well. Very cool.
yeah, vacuums on the other side, and then here, let me actually pull this up.
Enhance.
I'm hiding my
Well, I'm
hiding
listening
my
for it
pin.
with my Magic AI because we can.
Oh, I won't turn it on because it's very loud.
Is it
Um,
okay?
but I've got this thing all cleaned up. Going. It's not turned
Serban asks,
on.
is that a Bob CNC? What is that?
Mach 4. Oh, the machine is Avid CNC. So I got
Okay.
this on Craigslist or something for basically nothing. Um, but yeah, the full touchscreen kind of thing. I can, if it was enabled, I could turn all the things on and off,
Very
but
cool.
it's all turned off right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very happy with myself because it's been too long.
It's always cool to be making stuff. That's I just saw a thing here in San Diego. Let me see if I can get this thing back down. For an Arduino meetup, and I was like, oh, I should go like meet my local nerds because I've got all my nerd homies in. Ooh, did I break this? Sorry, Kevin. I'm screwing up our your beautiful setup here. Um, yeah, like I've got all my nerd homies in the AF group, but I don't have local nerd homies.
Yeah.
So,
Um, I
oh,
don't either.
Jay has
So
the same
yeah,
pen as you on his luggage. Okay, good.
actually, I got to hang out with a couple of Nova folks last night, and it was really fun to talk shop and a little scheming on some LoRaWAN stuff. So maybe we'll build some
I
things
saw
there.
a question earlier. So I've actually, and it brings up, let's see, anything in the works for IoT mobile hotspot hardware? I don't think that you guys are going to, I mean, Foundation is not going to do anything. Maybe Nova is going to do something, but unknown there. What is Kent doing? I haven't seen Kent's thing for a while. He had like some badass fancy piece of hardware mapper thing, and they shipped something out on Twitter, but I haven't looked for it in a while.
These guys,
Oh, you fucker! You're ahead of me in line
yeah,
on the alpha thing.
yeah, yeah. It helps. I know where he lives. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, yeah. So this is really cool. It's it's basically, so what I learned today that, or yesterday that I
Hmm.
didn't realize before, is that you're not doing OTAA on these things. He's doing ABP. So
What's that?
the
I don't know what it
keys are,
is.
yeah. So the keys for the LoRaWAN device are baked into it. It doesn't retrieve those keys on a join process once that device gets turned on. So he
Okay.
ships these things basically onboarded, ready to go. So you pull it out of the box and it is working. It's not trying to go, try and do a join. Um, but and that's generally considered a bad thing
Okay.
for most LoRaWAN because you want the ability if it fails out for some reason to go reconnect it. Um, but a really interesting thing he did here is skipped the basically he's using the Bluetooth to interface with the app that he built, and then he can go and reconfigure keys if needed.
Ooh,
So
okay.
he's done like a really nice workaround there where everything is interfaced with this app, and then the device is just sort of like autonomous but associated with the app. So it's a really interesting way to bypass the negative parts of ABP and then just sort of have this like positive user experience on it.
Right. I'm looking for his website because we had talked about
Detect
it.
Labs.
What is
Yeah.
it?
Detect Labs. Let me
Oh,
see if I
Detect
can get it
Labs. Yeah.
really quickly.
Cool.
Uh, oh boy, that's a rough name on the whole internets.
Careful there. Lee and I have been,
Well, not no.
go ahead. Yeah, Lee and I have been like looking at coffee shop names as we spin up this coffee shop for paleo treats, and some of them, when the words are apart, they're like, oh yeah, that's no problem. And then it's just due to the nature of putting all the words together on a URL, you're like, that does not look like what I want it to look like. And in some
Oh
cases,
yeah,
it's like
like
significantly different.
Penn Island is the classic one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Go type
Yeah.
that in one word.
I saw something the other day. It was like, I mean, it looked like "wash my ass," and I'm like, no, that's definitely not what we want for a URL.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, like just on the like general day-to-day stuff, Kent has been involved a lot in a lot of the consumer facing app stuff for uh, Helium Mobile, and then also like representation of like Helium IoT stuff for like Explorer and app and things like that. So um,
And then what's the
he's just
point
like,
of the whole Detect Lab? I mean, just looked like a rad nerd project, but for Derek's.
yeah. So he packed a bunch of sensors in here. Um, Trying to pop it open, but it's a rack with block. It's built on that platform.
Okay.
Uh, Try to show this a little bit. So you see there's a little ribbon cable that's going
You
to this
voided the
guy.
warranty when as soon as you opened it up. Travis
It's
probably just got
3D
a hard on.
printed. It's what we do on this.
Yeah.
This would be like a hacks thing. It's like
Yeah.
open it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but any little ribbon cable from the WISP block connector
Okay.
pops up to this, which I believe is a light intensity sensor. I
Okay.
don't remember off the top of my head. Um, and then environment sensor. So that's your temperature, humidity.
Yep.
I think there's like some CO2 sensing or something like that.
Oh, very cool.
Um, and then he,
And
I
so the
think it,
intent was just to make like a thing that checked on coverage of the
it's
network as well as also other stuff, or what was like what do you think he's going to do with it?
so the cool thing with this is that it's a platform for, you know, it's a really good reference for device onboarding.
Okay.
So you do it with this app. You do a little pairing with the app. I'm using my phone as my camera today, so otherwise I'd show you.
Mm.
Um, but uh, it ended up being like a really smooth user experience to get this device onboarded. And
Okay.
then by doing all this stuff through the app, now you have like a clear understanding of how it's interfacing. You can switch a mode on it. It can become a mapper on the fly. It doesn't operate in a sort of mapper mode all of the time, but
Okay.
when it's paired with your phone through the Bluetooth, you get the coordinates off your phone, you get the LoRa off the device, you can sort of have some correlation there. Uh, so it ended up being like a really smart approach where you didn't need to put a bunch of extra hardware in there, or a lot of extra compute in the device because you can offload a lot of this to the phone itself.
No, Badass.
Yeah. So from like a mapper, it's not a entirely passive mapper. You don't throw it in your, car dash or whatever and forget about it because like you're doing it in the app. But it's nice when you get to site and you're trying to deploy the thing and you want to know that it's going to work. You can hit a button and kind of see it working.
Oh, maybe I'll put that in my like devices for LoRaWAN list.
It'd be a good one.
Yeah.
And he also runs his own LNS. Like it's like a full stack,
Yeah.
own process. Pretty cool.
Yep. No, I remember when I was having some trouble. He was like, "Oh yeah, I can help you with that." And yeah, he's super, super helpful with that stuff. Let's see. I saw something on Helium Mobile. What happened to the DIY hotspot? Oh, this was the brownfield deployment, right?
Oh yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catch me up.
So the way this works, um, trying to remember how much I've talked about on here. Feel free to like tell me if it's old news.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the current process is going to be that folks can go contact the Nova Labs BD team. If they've got a big fleet of devices that they're trying to onboard, they can help you through that process.
Okay.
And part of that process is validating and ensuring that those devices are where you say they are. Because Brownfield doesn't have the skyhook and speed tests and all of that other stuff,
Okay.
we
So
have to have a bit of a
you got to double check it. And this was like you could turn your Unify into a Unify AP into a Helium coverage piece. It's not quite as easy as like flipping a button. It sounds like you have to get permission or authorization or something. Is that right?
well
Or is that different?
today, right? Yeah. So that's the current state of the world.
Okay.
And so that is our alpha stage. So in alpha, you can go run this thing, not get rewarded. It'll transfer Helium mobile traffic. You can do it all you want on your own, or you can go contact the Nova BD team.
Okay.
V1, V1 is what's coming in January. You will be able to get your own certificates for your own device and onboard your own Ubiquiti, Meraki, Ruckus, whatever gateway system. It's not a like one click install kind of thing.
Right.
You have to like follow some steps and kind of, a little bit know what you're doing. It's
Yep.
not it's if you have a Ubiquiti system in your house, like you're probably already in that camp anyway, so it's kind of fine. Um, you do, right? Yeah.
I do, but it's just. I mean, I think I was talking to my buddy TJ the other day, and I was saying, I was like, "Hey, did you? What were we talking about?" Basically, it came down to he's a code nerd guy. He's actually the guy who helped me build my first Helium hotspot. I would say he built it for me while I watched and assumed it was all magic. And then he's
Mhm.
like, "No, I'm just like copy pasting a bunch of code." He had gone to school for basically like nerd stuff and marketing. So computers and marketing, like two totally different things. So for him, all this stuff was really easy. And we were talking about the the way this like the future is working. And I was like, dude, I don't like some of the stuff is so stymieing to me because I don't know code, but that barrier is rapidly dropping because of ChatGPT. And
Mhm.
he was saying like, oh, you should go take a crash course on Code Academy. And I'm like, dude, I don't think it's worth my time. And I could be wrong here. And this is definitely like very customized to me and what I'm doing. But I don't think it's, this sounds terrible. I don't think it's worth my time to learn any of these code languages because I have ChatGPT or something similar. It's like, hey, this is what I want to do. Can you give me the code for this? And it's just like,
Well,
yeah, sure, here.
there's two things. There's learning code and there's learning syntax. And it
Okay.
is probably not worth your time to learn, a language, learn that syntax. But learning code is a is effectively the universal part, right? They're all going to follow the same patterns. They approach, you do algorithms, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and that's where that can be really nice to when you do the chat GPT stuff and be like, well, why'd you do it like that? And then you can sort of, you can guide it or whatever. And you don't have to worry about the syntax because it's just giving you a bunch of machine code. Um,
Yeah.
and maybe there's a cleaner way to do it, but like at the end of the day, that probably doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But
I mean, that's the thing.
um,
Like the purist in me is like, oh, Nick, you savage. You should go, take a 6-month course on JS and then take a 6-month course on Python and be like really good at this stuff. But I look at it and I'm like, as long as I know what I want and I know how I want it done, and I've got an idea in my head of like, hey, here's the sequence. And the example of that is like, hey, I want it to go from the sensor to the LNS, and then the LNS should use a Cloudflare tunnel and an HTTP integration to go to my Raspberry Pi, and then it should go to Node-RED, and from Node-RED it goes to InfluxDB, and then to a Grafana, and then back up to through another tunnel to a dashboard.medioscientific.com. Like, as long as I know that, I can then question GPT and be like, hey, is this right? Am I missing anything? And it'll be like, oh yeah, you're an idiot. It should go this way. And sometimes it'll give you the wrong thing, be like, oh yeah, you're fine, because it tends to agree with you more than not. But
It'll try. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, what I've found is that as long as you're very clear in your thinking, and GPT has helped me a ton, kind of ask a bunch of the questions that made it very clear that I'm usually not very clear in my thinking. But as long as you get very clear in your thinking, it's like, oh, it will get you where you want to go.
Yeah. And the clear in your thinking part is effectively being a PM. Like
Yep.
you you want to know the top to bottom of how this thing should interact, and then you're able to explain that to a computer, uh,
Yeah.
your helper, and they're supposed to turn around and do the work.
Yeah. Which is, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not in in my view of things like how a thing should be done, but I'm also faced with like, hey, I'm 46. I'm running out of time. I don't know that a ton of time now, kind of learning these things that are super, or used to be super important, and like they were the barrier to entry to this thing. They're no longer a barrier.
Yeah.
So
I I would expect you'd probably get a little bit of value out of doing whatever course, right?
yeah,
But you're probably also like way past a lot of what you would encounter in that too. Like you already
yeah.
understand if statements and loops and
I mean, like,
generally what's going on. Like that. Yeah.
no, I don't understand those at like some deep level, but like this idea of like, hey, if
But
this thing happens, then that thing happens, and then this is how this next thing goes. Like, yeah, that all that makes sense to me.
yeah.
Joey,
Um,
any discount goes for mobile hotspots? No, I'll make that one easy because.
there might be,
Really?
actually. Yeah.
Good God. I thought they're all gone. Oh, we got a bunch of
I can't
questions on
remember what.
brownfield
Well,
shopping centers.
well,
Let's see
yeah.
what.
Coming back around to the brownfield thing, it is not a code deployment. So not to scare anything away at that point, but uh, what point will they be carrier offload? So yeah, okay. So carry wrapping up my story on brownfield,
Sorry.
V1 is going to be Helium mobile traffic transferred through your Ubiquity or whatever else, and you do get rewarded for it.
Okay.
But the carrier offload configurations won't be included in those. Um, you're not going to do carrier offload. You're not going to get rewarded for it. The There might be like a V1.1
Mm-hmm.
where we start to include the carrier offload configuration, but we don't activate it yet. So we start to seed the base of folks that have that ability. Anyone who did the V1, it's just a small upgrade to go V1.1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sort of hand waving through it, but this is effectively the way it works. You'd add an additional parameter to your existing configuration. It would sort of be passive until the activation happens. V2 needs to come in lockstep with coverage mapping. So we get all of this information from people participating in coverage mapping. It validates the deployments of all these brownfield sites. We can start to know, it's well deployed. It is where it says it is. It looks like great coverage. It's needed. The carriers want it. And then we can start selecting from that base and submitting those to carriers so that the carrier offload can start to happen.
Yep.
So that's the flow. That's going to happen over some period of time. The big blocker, of course, is getting a sufficient base of data through coverage mapping in order to enable that.
Okay. Badass. Huh.
Oh,
Good to know.
yeah, basically has already kicked off. V1 coming in January, and then more updates to come.
Yeah. And if you want to fuck around with it, reach out to Nova. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, or jump into the docs and start fucking around with it
And then figure
because
it out yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
you can do the alpha thing, and that'll be 90 again. That's 90% of the work. And so once the V1 stuff comes out, you would just go and create the certificate following the guides that are in docs. You'll add that to the config that you did for the alpha part. Uh, you tear out the old certs, put in the new certs, and you're good to go. So
Dig it.
go play around with the alpha and just kind of like get used to it. That's what's
Figure
running
it
on
out.
my network right now.
Have you seen this the DY Cats Airclaw thing? I should go back to deep in. Um,
No.
dude,
Is there was something about getting like put one HNT in a wallet and see how much you can like grow it or something.
no.
Is that
Well,
what that is?
I think it might be airclaw.xyz. Jay, if you know what it is, let me know. But it was this website that they set up. I think it's a DY Cats thing, and it's a total like mystery thing. And goddamn, some of those things I am just presented with how much I suck at that stuff. Because it was like, hey, guess the password for this, and I'm just guessing like 300 passwords. And I took a screenshot of it and I put it in my Discord. And I think Nosmaster is like, you idiot, you're supposed to look at the code. And I never even thought to like inspect the code on it. I'm like, oh, this is like a
Mm.
nerd challenge. I'm not going to be that good at it. I don't have time for this shit. But if you are a nerd, super fun to get into. Let me see if I can find it. It
Yeah,
might
I'm
be,
curious.
let's see, Airclaw. Yeah, airclaw.xyz is what it is. And so you have to go through this. I don't know. I thought it was. I was like, no, it's not Meshtastic. Let me see if I can edit this, and we'll put it up for them because I think they're a fun group. There it is. Airclaw.xyz.
Is this from the DY Cats guys, or this is like somebody they kind of partnered up with?
I don't know. I think it. I mean, Jay is saying it's the DY Cats Airclaw scavenger hunt, so I'm guessing it's a um, DY Cats thing. And I mean, we're both DY Cats holders, Joey, so we should probably know about this. But there's such a flow of information that I'm like, fuck, I don't get all of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, don't get
Huh.
sucked
All
into it
right.
right now. But it's like some challenge, and I
I'll
guess
save.
if you fix it, I don't know. Do you get $1 billion or something, or 300 DY Cats, or I don't know what you get, but you
Be
win.
worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'll crack it tonight.
yeah. It's
That's
one of
I'm
the
giving you all a head start. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll start
Nice.
until tonight.
Thanks, Joey.
Yeah.
You're already going to be way ahead of me. No, the first person to complete it gets a legendary cat. And then
Oh, so it'll
I
be my second legendary then.
go fuck yourself, Joey.
Yeah.
I had to buy in like everyone else. Although I think they made most people buy in. They gave some like super fancy people a free one, but most folks had to buy in. I'm not sure
Yeah. No,
how that went down.
Noah and Abai got the coolest ones. Mine's a little bit of a sleeper. It's technically a legendary, but it looks a little normal. So
Okay.
I've given Peroni that feedback before. He's just like, yeah, yours is one of the first ones. This is what you got. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was like a fun project. I got in there, bought a cat. There was some. It wasn't a scam, but there's some scheme you could run where if you could bid it up through your own stupid
Your
what was it, like
referrals or
affiliate
something.
code, and you could get extra thing. And so I spent like 3 days trying to run that, and I was like, dude, I don't have fucking time for this thing.
Well, so what I just stumbled on is you can now stake your DY cat or like lock it up, and then you get a portion of the content, like the rest of the bids.
Huh.
Um, so yeah, my DY cat has gotten some, 3,000 mobile tokens. I was like $5 or something in the last 2 days. Um, so
Cool.
I don't know, go lock your DY cats, I guess. That's
Yeah, maybe. It seems like one of those things where I was like, as an internet mini personality, I could make an extra $7 a day or something. I'm just like, dude, I
locking
just don't have time.
cats. Yeah.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and fucking like people are dog people or cat people. I'm a dog person. There's no animal that I dislike, but cats are not high on my list. I know you're a
Yeah.
cat person, so
Derek's asking about what you need
you do not
for
need a ubiquity.
Ubiquity. Well, you
Actually,
do not need a Ubiquity explicitly. You need a you need a gateway that is capable of Passpoint. Um, and so, like the Ubiquity Alien stuff, which is like their consumer or like prosumer or whatever brand, it's outside of like you'll stumble across it.
okay.
I don't believe that has Passpoint, but they're what is it? I just bought one for my workshop. It's not going to be in here.
Oh, and we
The
go ahead.
Dream Machine will work.
Hmm.
The Dream Wall will work. That's what I, oh, God damn it. I
Oh,
got
that's the one that, yeah, you just got
blocked.
some fancy new thing, right?
I have the Dream Wall at home. I've had it for a year plus.
Okay.
They sell them cheaper during Black Friday. Sorry, you just missed that. Um,
I don't think, I mean, the only things that Lee and I bought on Black Friday was she got a pair of the microphones she wanted, which were some Rode Pro things for the Paley Treats Instagram stuff she's doing at TikTok. And,
mm,
uh, and then we had to buy a fucking car charger because our juice box for the electric car decided that it was just going to do whatever it wanted whenever it wanted. And that's not that great for a car charger that's connected to 240 or 220. So it's getting retired. But yeah, I had big plans for all kinds of other Black Friday things. I was like, I've got to be mature on this stuff and not spend extra money.
yeah, so it's the Cloud Gateway Max, I think is the thing that I bought. No, it's not the Max. I think it's just the Cloud Gateway. I didn't need 2.5 gig Ethernet. Um, so that works. I have it running in my workshop. Uh, so that's the
Okay.
other route. And then you just need to make sure firmware updates have happened on everything before you kick off, because the support from Ubiquiti is only 2 or 3 months old. So
Got it.
yeah.
Got it. I think I showed you, did I show you the router and the X75 modem that I was setting up for my mountaintop install? I thought I pulled that out at one point a while ago.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were taking a look at that.
Yep. I think it was like a
Um,
month ago. It's just sitting in my bag back here. I'm like, oh, have I showed off all my toys lately?
well, oh, speaking of toys too. So, and Black Friday shopping stuff.
Mm,
Uh, I stumbled on the fact that Prusa, the 3D printer manufacturer,
can be paid for.
has crypto checkout.
Mm. I
So
should have
like
done that. Yeah.
I want all the alpha on like where you can go throw soul around, because that was pretty exciting. I was like right on the edge, like, do I buy it? Do I not? And then I saw the checkout. I was like, oh, easy. Like, let's go.
Oh, you
So
got one. Good for you.
yeah. Yep, it'll be coming. It'll live, back here in the corner, so you'll be able to see it, but
Nice.
hasn't shipped yet.
Super cool. And does it come with an enclosure? I hadn't seen the new ones. I haven't paid attention because I've got one. It's like I don't need two printers.
So I went Prusa XL. It's
Very
the big
fancy.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, too big for the camera.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I did it with the enclosure, so it'll be a it'll be a big beast. And then
Cool.
yeah,
Badass. Yeah.
yep.
I built this enclosure. I'm looking at it. You can't see it. I guess I could, if I really wanted to fuck around, I could swing the camera on, but I'm not going to deal with that.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Not everyone has seen it, but I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that. I mean, I think a 3D printer is super nice to have. Like Lee just. Oh, the other thing that Lee got was she got some fancy toothbrush, and I just got on printables, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna print up a holder because it came with four of these toothbrush heads, and it
hmm
just like came with a box. And so you're looking at it, you're like, where do you keep the extra toothbrush heads? Turns out you can print something up. So I think like printer is a 3D printer is super nice to have around the house.
It really is. I fire it up a couple times a week, I feel like. And
Well, I'm
Fusion
not quite
360,
that.
somebody was talking about that earlier, just like quick part in 15 minutes, and it's like, oh, it's the perfect fit. And an
Yeah,
hour
yeah.
later,
Now you're way ahead of me on that. And we've
the-
talked about that before.
this
That like good.
this is what you got to buy. These are the key tools, right? You need
I've
some, I mean,
I
these are
guess I've
cheap, cheap
yeah
ones, but a
yeah.
couple good calipers in your,
I've um I've got one of those, but it's just like I don't know. Maybe it sounds like I'm making a ton of excuses in this show. Like thinking in 3D is pretty hard for me. It takes me a long time to like get through it. And
Mhm.
usually my projects are marked by like measure 600 times, cut 400 times is
Mhm.
what it comes down to for me.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
my early 3D prints would be a stack of like, well, that didn't fit, that didn't fit, that didn't fit. So like I had to like go through it, but
yeah,
now it's
learning
feels like
process.
my Zen time of like sitting down with a Sudoku puzzle or something like that. Like I am excited when I have a project and I can be like, ah, cool. Like I know roughly how I'll put it together, and then you kind of get to discover it along the way.
Like I'm
Um,
more of a meathead.
so
My Zen time is like on the rower and in the squat rack.
mm,
Just
that's not
straight
me.
application of
Yeah.
power. All right. Any
Yeah.
way to pick up mobile hotspots on will call at your warehouse, Joey?
No,
No.
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 Yeah. I've never even seen our warehouse. So yeah. Well, I Nova Warehouse Foundation doesn't.
Is printing a Dragon a requirement for all 3D printer owners? No, but printing that fucking tugboat is.
I haven't done either. Yeah,
Joey,
so you could sneak past it.
good God. You know what I did print the other day? And I've got was this thing, which is a little Raspberry Pi holder.
Nice.
And so
Yeah,
if you have, where is the? Fuck, it's probably in here.
I I probably need one of those. I've got like Raspberry Pis hanging from my wall. Uh,
Yeah, I mean
It's my
it's a nice
my
little
situation.
wall mount, and then I'm trying to remember the case or the name of the case for the Pi. Fuck, I'm actually now freaking out because I don't know where that Pi is, but it's somewhere in this shit show. Um, oh, it's a Flirt case, FLIRC, which is like a
Hmm.
nice heat dissipating case. You can get a couple different. Actually, I know where it is.
Oh, like an industrial application kind of thing. Like I'll seal it up.
It's in my box, one of my many boxes full of shit. All right, there it
Yep.
is. So there's the Flirt case. This guy right here. So,
Brilliant. Yeah.
yep, just like a clean way to keep a Pi dust free. And then there's a cheaper version, which is this thing. And I think this is like the Geek Worm, maybe.
Hmm.
But that thing, you end up putting this on the wall, and then this guy goes in there
Ah, okay.
and then sits on the wall.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nice way to do stuff. The other thing I was thinking of doing, and this was the Black Friday thing I didn't buy, was upgrading to a NAS.
Hmm.
And then I think what I might end up doing is just waiting on that. But I was like, oh, maybe I'll just buy, because I have the same problem as you with Raspberry Pis. I've got like 4 of them around the house and a couple more at the office. And I was like, oh, I want like all of them just to look nice, even though it will make zero difference in their functionality. So I wanted like a Raspberry Pi server rack. A Geekworm is also a giant heatsink. Yeah, I think that's this one here. And if I
Hmm.
remember right, when I looked at buying the Geekworm versus the Flirk, is the Flirk actually performed better at keeping the heat down, although it doesn't look like it should because the other one is a giant aluminum heatsink. So
Yeah, I need more of that. Well, actually, I don't need more of that. I've got like a box full of rack enclosures somewhere. I'd probably just use those. But
yeah. That's
yeah.
there's a lot going on. Hey, I would like to know what I can do with this thing. If
Yeah.
anyone has ideas on like what you do with extras of these, I don't know what to do with it. I think there are
So
a couple hundred of these out there. I'd love to figure it out.
yeah, well, I mean, it's probably worth noting the mobile hip around, resetting all of those. Um,
I
so
don't know
I don't
anything
know
about
the
that. I'm
exact.
behind on it. What is
Oh,
it?
I'm also behind on it, but the TLDR is like the community will probably vote to discontinue CBRS. As a part of doing that, Nova would push firmware reset to all the radios and Enobs, the
Okay.
full computer, um, and so they would become free agent available hardware. So you could go run your own private CBRS network if you want. You can go sell them on eBay. You can go run them on XNet. Like, you know,
Don't
do
you
as you
say that
wish
name,
with the
Joey?
hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. They can take all the CBRS, um, but the actual computer will
Mhm.
also be reset. So it'll right now it's got secure boot. You can't get in there, and it's pretty locked down. But
Jerm or Travis could
with
get in there. Come on. I can't get in there, but someone can.
yeah, I don't know, you're not supposed to get in there. Um, I haven't tried. I don't. Yeah. But it should be a pretty solid little computer and an industrial thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll get reflashed and you'll be able to use it just like straight as you should be able to access it like a Pi or whatever else you're used to.
Cool. And it's got a bunch of Ethernet ports. So maybe do you end up being able to put OpenWRT on there and you make it a router? Maybe.
Yeah, or what's that other somebody probably knows the project, but yeah, there's another one that it's like a really common thing and people do. It's got a bunch of ports. You need a bunch of ports, and this would be a perfect fit for it.
Huh. Okay.
Um, and it's got LoRaWAN, so yeah.
All right.
And
If
if
you
you
reflash
reflash,
the,
you
yeah,
do not retain the IoT. So the onboard is not stored in hardware. The private public key pair isn't in
Okay.
hardware. So it will be reset entirely. You could redo it as a data only hotspot, but the existing onboard would fail to exist.
Hmm.
Yeah, which I'm not stoked about, but I had a big long conversation on this, and it's just like you
Juice
either
worth the
reset the
squeeze.
hardware
Yeah.
or you don't, like, and so you kind of gotta pick.
Yep. And someone reached out to me. They're like, it was a weird email. He's like, hey, do you have any IoT hotspots? I've got a restaurant deployment in LA and I need one now. And I was like, God, in LA, that's one of the most, outside of San Francisco and New York, one of the most covered places. And I wrote
Yeah.
back, I'm like, what's your use case? I'll dig around. I don't think I have any left. They've all been either given away or repurposed or sold. Derek's got one. So you could talk to Derek.
Hmm.
And he never wrote back. And I was like, huh, that's kind of weird.
Hmm.
So, but it
Yeah,
may
he
be,
should. Maybe he just went and plugged his device in and it worked.
yeah,
Yeah,
hard to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of coverage out there.
And then the Freedom Fi they can't be repurposed for Wi-Fi, or we don't know.
Not for Helium mobile Wi-Fi. You
Got it.
could, I mean, there's no Wi-Fi hardware in there, so you could add some Wi-Fi capability to
Oh,
it.
I guess you
But
could
yeah,
maybe. I'm just hand waving, and this is total bullshit. Is you could add antennas to it, which I think 619 OTA was asking about earlier, and it becomes a router, and you end up in the future being able to add it to as a brownfield deployment. But that's like
that, that would be the way to do
way
it.
out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Choose your own adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. 619. What were you asking about the antenna stuff? This is way back here, and I went past it. Let's see if I can find it again. No, fuck it. It's in here somewhere. I think he was asking about Helium Wi-Fi antenna. Like, can you bring your own antenna? I think that was the general question.
Mm.
But
Yeah, brownfield. Yeah.
yeah. So you should be able to use your own. When you're saying antenna, are you talking about an access point, or something else? 619. Because I'm assuming that's what we're talking about. But whoop,
Yeah.
that
Mm.
doesn't work. I don't know what
So
happened there.
small. It got really tiny.
Let's see.
There it
Can I
is.
undo that? I should probably lock this screen. There we go. Yeah. Clearly a
Kevin's just like yelling
software
right
fucking
now.
wizard. Yeah, he's like, dude, why
Yeah.
are you fuck? Fuck. All right, there we go. How do I lock that goddamn thing?
There you go. And
Got it.
619 said APs. So yeah,
APs. Okay,
like,
cool.
with that little computer, you could go run OpenWRT, whatever. You plug some APs into it. As long as everything's sort of interfacing, you can control those APs. Um, do pass point configuration, apply an SID, onboard that, load the certs. Yeah, that's the flow.
Cool. Um, anything else in Deepin that you're seeing? I mean, you're at Helium. That's probably 97% of your thinking time goes to Helium or something like that.
Yep.
Anything else in Deepin that you're seeing? I'm seeing a bunch of projects. I think we talked about XYO last time. I thought that was super cool. I've seen a couple others come across my desk in the last week, but anything that you're seeing, you're like, oh, this is kind of neat. I'm going to pay attention to it a little bit.
Yeah, I've been getting a little bit more exposure to folks that are doing, like, they're trying to build tooling for, like, putting certificates on chain or doing remote access authenticated on chain, things like that. So I've been having some conversations with folks around that. Um, it's a hurdle to, like, cast away the legacy in those, because, like, if you're going to go do something a little scary or like in the crypto space or whatever, you want it to be like order of magnitude better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
actually, I think, been an interesting reflection on, like, talking about Helium and things like that. It's like people aren't just going to go jump to it because it's like, oh, it's crypto, I'll go use it. You and I might jump and try and get in there on something like that, but
Yeah.
it's got to really solve, like, a problem in a much bigger way than the status quo.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
so
think there's a giant like scramble slash brawl in the world of distributed GPU and AI. And those guys are all doing some deep in stuff and they all kind of want a piece of that action. So I feel like that'll end up
yeah,
being really good for the consumer in the long run. But in the short term, it's just like,
yeah.
who knows what's going to
And
happen?
it's like Yeah, like and when it comes to like cost savings for distributed GPU, if it's the difference between, you know, paying $100 a month for the distributed GPU thing and like $250 a month for the on-prem AWS one, like most businesses are going to go for the 250 one. Like it's just the time that it takes for that engineer to go debug the thing that maybe it's not going to work, maybe it will work,
Mm-hmm.
isn't worth the risk from like a, just
Yeah, business
a pure
standpoint.
planning standpoint. I wouldn't sign off on it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's like we've got other things to worry about. So don't go, using the new thing when the old thing is like not
Good
that much
enough.
more expensive.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the difference between, $10,000 and $100, well, now that's worth a risk or whatever, and you'll
Yeah.
go jump in and try that thing out and make it work for you.
Ooh, I
But
wonder if there's like, and this would be something that Who Loves Burrito or Hotspotty would be perfectly positioned for, is to have a chart that says, here's the project. So here's Helium IoT. Here's the cost to use Helium IoT. Here's the cost to do your own thing. And here's the ratio between those costs.
I like that. Yeah, like status quo, the new like
Yeah. So like Hivemapper would
the
say,
new
okay, here's
cool.
Hivemapper. Here's what they do as imagery. Here's how much it costs per tile to buy from them. Here's how much it costs per tile to buy from Google. Like you just look at the
Right.
cost difference. And once you see things at like the 1 to 10, you're like, okay, I can see that
Yeah.
being pretty good.
Well, I think Hivemapper is like a good example to pull from because like they can tell a story around like we're fresher data, we're cheaper data, and you can like schedule and like target particular areas or like there's all these cool things they get to do
Yeah.
um, that
And in
help
fact,
those conversations.
yeah, I'd call that like the deepen ratio. And if a project has a really high deepen ratio, you might end up saying, okay, I can see where this thing really has legs versus, like you said, I mean, if it's whatever, yeah, a shitload. If it's $250 to buy
100
the
to
thing
200.
yourself
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah.
$100,
Right.
like deepen ratio is 2.5. That's not enough. It's got to be like
Right.
10 or something.
Well, it's a ratio and it's also a just like a threshold amount, right?
Yeah,
Spending $150 more as a business is
nothing.
that's an hour of an engineer's time or whatever, right? Like
You're
you're not
cheap
going to
engineers,
take that
Joey. You
risk.
guys are underpaying your
Yeah,
engineers.
right. Like
I,
you mean, like, but yeah, 45 minutes, third half
totally. Dude, I
hour,
just
like
talked to a
whatever.
crypto tax guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, to go through your taxes, it's $400 an hour." I was like, "What the fuck?" Coinly is going to just do that, but I don't know. Maybe it probably is worth it to like go through for me with different businesses and different wallets and certain late night fuckery on shit coins. Like maybe it is worth him spending that time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think it would be actually a really interesting thing, and you could probably make like a really compelling narrative, like on the Gold Hawk side. Just be
yeah,
like, here's the Deep in Report 2025. Like,
yeah,
this is what's going on out there.
yeah. Yeah. I'll talk to Max about that. He doesn't like most of my ideas at first, which is always like funny. It's like, hey, his first response is always, "That sucks." Like, okay, cool. Let's go deeper.
Yeah.
Uh,
You can
let's
tell him
see.
I came up with it, and then he can be mad at me, and
Oh
then
yeah, no,
he'll
like it
help me
doesn't
sell
matter.
it.
It's always it sucks.
Yeah.
The images I bought a PT, I didn't actually use those at all. I was going to use that for this big deep in treasure hunt, and then it just that I looked at that, and when I first looked at, it, I'm like, oh, that's not going to take that much time. And after 3 days or 5 days of working on, it, I was like, holy shit, this is going to take like 2 months of super active time. I can't charge enough to be worth it, so I didn't do it. So I bought some tiles, and I don't know, those pictures exist somewhere, and I'm not using them right now. So cool. All right, dude. I think we're at time anyway. But Joey, thanks so much for coming on. I
Yeah,
know you're not here next week. Is that right?
correct. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll roll solo
Yep.
next week, and then we'll catch you the week after that. But thanks for coming on. Always good to see you. Always good to catch up on deep and stuff. And yeah, crush, buddy.
Yeah. Take it easy.
Rock and roll. We're out.